The Fyrun saga is sadly over, but I have a few more Fyrun-focused videos I would like to share before wrapping things up and finally moving on to some future projects. This video will go over all of the legendary Pokemon found within the Fyrun region. Now, most of these legendary or mythical Pokemon have been introduced before, but they were scattered throughout various videos and some were even glossed over. So this video will make it easier to find them all in one place, doing them all the justice they deserve, offering even more insight to each of these legends. Also including some new content in the form of mythical Pokemon Veacher's 4 forms, which I promised back in my Supercut video. For those of you who are new, I've been exploring my Nordic and Icelandic inspired Fakemon region, the Fyrun region, here on my YouTube channel, and over on my Instagram account at Mykelmon_regions, commissioning a series of talented artists to bring my ideas to life and take you on an exciting adventure through my imagination. But sadly, this adventure is coming to an end. If you enjoy the video, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out some of my previous videos as they introduce all of the Fyrun region's new Pokemon. I do, however, recommend watching the Fyrun Saga series in particular, so you're up to date with the story of the Fyrun region, its characters, and the new Forge Form mechanic and how it works, as a lot of that will be relevant to this video. But luckily for you, I recently made a supercut video putting the entire Fyrun Saga together in chronological order, and it's even streamlined for your viewing pleasure. So if you are new, that is the video I definitely recommend you check out. Then get out some popcorn and follow it up with the Pokemon Legends Realm Doll project within the ancient Fyrun region, as well as the 2 DLCs I just released, the Queen's Beauty and the King's Bounty. So if you like this video, I definitely recommend checking out all of those videos at the very least. Anyways, let's get right into it, starting off with the mascot legendary Pokemon of the Fyrun regions, Conceptual Games, Pokemon Brain, and Pokemon Brawn. The Pokemon Brain mascot legendary and leader of Team Brain, Ilruz the Trickster Pokemon, is a Psychic Dark type. The Master of Mischief, this divine Pokemon casts powerful illusions to confuse and manipulate its foes, including the leader of Team Brain, Loki, as it's really the one calling all of the shots. Ilruz has a signature ability, Mind Games, which powers up all special moves, which Loki of course specializes in, which is why Team Brain, which worships this divine Pokemon, also specializes in signature attacks. Speaking of which, Ilruz has a signature attack, which is a Dark-type special move, calling upon Serpent-like shadows to ambush the target, lowering their special defense stat, making them even more vulnerable to its special attacks. Ilruz is inspired by the Norse trickster god Loki. Ilruz's name comes from the Icelandic word Illr, meaning evil or difficult, and ruse being an action intended to deceive or trick someone. While mostly humanoid like the trickster god himself, I decided to add more snake-like features to Ilruz's design. I did this because I like to give my more human-like Pokemon, especially the divine Pokemon, more animal-like qualities, so they feel a little bit more Pokemon-like. I not only thought a snake was fitting of Loki's sneaky, sinister, and shape-shifting nature, but because Loki is connected to snakes in many ways in Norse mythology. One of Loki's offsprings, Jormungandr, is a giant serpent. Snakes were also used to punish Loki in one of the poems found in the Poetic Edda, which, like many Norse stories, originated in Iceland. It's also important to note Loki's Viking symbol also depicts 2 snakes circling one another. Loki's Viking symbol is also what inspired the Pokemon Brain logo, and is once again referenced in the magical scepter at the end of Ilruz's tail. Ilruz also has a Forge form, being a Piercer-type weapon, which resembles Loki's scepter from the MCU, as well as Loki's weapon from Norse mythology, which has been depicted as a sword, scepter, spear, you name it, so I wanted to incorporate a little bit of all of them into this weapon. And a friendly reminder, there is no casting type or magical Forge form weapon type, because all Forge form weapons are already magical weapons, with access to that Pokemon's moveset. That being said, Ilruz has a powerful finisher move, which helps set up the psychic terrain afterwards. Now to its adversary, the Pokemon Brawn mascot, Stormer, the warrior Pokemon, which is a fighting electric type. This mighty warrior is said to be able to summon powerful thunderbolts from the sky with the swinging of its hammer fist. Stormer has a powerful signature ability, Brute Force, boosting all of its physical attacks, making it a force to be reckoned with. Speaking of which, it has an equally devastating signature move, Mighty Hammer, which is a physical fighting move that smashes the target's defense stat. This is also a reference to the fact that Team Braun, which worships Stormer, only use physical type attacks and Pokemon. And like Ilruz, this Pokemon is wielded by the Team Braun leader, Thor. However, Stormer is actually the real one in power, just like Ilruz. But Thor is far too narcissistic to realize he's being played. Stormer is inspired by the infamous Norse god of thunder, Thor, as I'm sure you could guess. Stormer's name comes from the Norse word for storm, Sturmur, and Thor. While mostly humanoid, like Ilruz and my divine Pokemon for the Loki region, I once again wanted to add more animal-like features to its design, so I chose to add goat-like features to Stormer's design as a reference to Thor's two mighty goats in Norse mythology, which would pull his chariot across the sky and bring him to the 9 realms. They were also seen in the most recent Thor movie, Love and Thunder. If you look closely, the wool on Stormer's body also resembles clouds, which is fitting of its electric typing. The logo for Pokemon Braun is inspired by Thor's Viking symbol, depicting Thor's iconic hammer, which is also included in Stormer's design as part of its right arm. Stormer's formidable forge form is a hammer, expanding upon this, being of the Wrecker type, and its finisher move helps set up the electric terrain. And for those of you who don't know, the Divine Pokemon are a subclass of Legendary Pokemon I created specifically for my Fakemon regions, inspired by gods from mythology with more human-like qualities. They also have the ability to speak, and even have their own Pokemon teams, inspired by Mewtwo from the first Pokemon movie. As being deities, they were once rulers of the land far before humans existed, therefore they were also the closest thing to Pokemon trainers before Pokemon trainers came into existence as well. The 4 divine Pokemon were all brought to life by my good friend, the incredibly talented Trainer Mats, as I normally work with him for all of my character designs, and being the divine Pokemon are supposed to be more human-like, I feel they were right up his alley. Now let's take a look at the legendary Pokemon found within the first DLC expansion, the Queen's Beauty. The 3 legendary Serpents are 3 legendary Dragon-type Pokemon for each of the starter types, grass, fire, and water, inspired by the 3 iconic dragons from Norse mythology. I'm probably gonna butcher their names, so please forgive me. These variations all reimagined as the loyal guardians of the divine Pokemon, Matriarch. So in order to find and enter its secret chamber, you must first find and defeat all 3 dragons in the Galdor Islands, each with their own castle. First up is Nithgaya, the grass-type representative, based on Nidhogg, the dragon at the roots of the World Tree, hence its tree-like design and grass typing. They root themselves deep within the subsoil of the earth, with its large tree-like body intertwined with all of the surrounding plant life. Its roar is said to have the power to cause entire forests to spring up from the ground. Its long wooden body resembles that of a tree, or more so of a tree root or branch, as a nod to Nidhogg's relationship to the World Tree Yggdrasil, with a leafy beard and wings, as well as earthy colors to fit its grass typing. Next up is Fafurno, inspired by the gold fire-breathing dragon, Fafnir, which explains its gorgeous golden color and fire typing. They live in caves surrounded by Viking treasure, in which they defend with their scorching hot fire breath. Its flames are said to be hot enough to melt gold. Its dex entry is a reference to its inspiration from the fire-breathing dragon Fafnir's connection to treasure. This is furthered by the golden scales across its body, which really make the red flames within its beard, wings, and tail pop even more. And last but not least, we have the water type, Jormarine, based on arguably the most iconic of these 3 Norse dragons, the world serpent, Jormungandr, which is a sea serpent explaining its water typing. Now, Zygarde is already loosely inspired by this same creature, but emphasis on loosely, so given Pokemon has repeated concepts before, I wanted to make a more literal interpretation, giving it the water typing, as I felt I couldn't really make a Nordic region without a Pokemon inspired by this beast. They live deep within the oceans of the Arctic, where they cause havoc on any ships that pass by, said to be far more destructive than the roughest of storms. This design has deep blues and purples, fitting of a Norse sea monster. It also has wavy patterns and gill-like features in its design to help further convey its water typing and make it stand apart from your average depiction of Jormungandr. All 3 of these Serpents are obtainable after defeating them at their respective castle within the Galdor Islands. All 3 of the legendary Serpents were brought to life by the talented Fungus Fakemon. Okay, now let's take a look at the DLC's namesake, the Queen of Beauty herself. The beautiful and fierce Matriarch. Inspired by Norse goddess Freyja, who is associated with love, beauty, and magic, hence her fairy typing, and inspiring all of the various themes of beauty and magic throughout this expansion. The connection to magic is why it shares the fairy typing with legendary Ed Loden, inspired by Odin, and it's fair to say that it also takes inspiration from Norse goddess Frigg, who is Odin's wife and mother to Baldur, or in the Marvel Comics, Thor. Hence the name Matriarch being a play on Matriarch and Roar, to fit her dragon typing and design, which also has subtle cat-like features, to reference the cats associated with Freyja that pull her chariot. So once again, this Pokemon is kind of a mix of both Freyja and Frigg, but more so Freyja. In fact, Matriarch's symbol, or the beauty symbol rather, is inspired by Norse god Freyja's symbol, with cat-like tails to reference her relationship to cats, or spiraling like serpents to reference the 3 legendary serpents that serve her. It also resembles a shield, as that is what her forged form is, as Freyja is often depicted wielding a shield, and it's fitting of the Pokemon's maternal nature and need to protect and cherish things. Matriarch also has a new signature ability called Ineffable Beauty, preventing the opponent from using any status moves, as well as a new signature attack known as Fierce Elegance, which is a strong fairy-type physical attack that lowers the opponent's strongest stat, with them having no way to raise it any higher, so together they can be quite useful. Matriarch is as kind as it is majestic, helping to look after and care for all of the wild Pokemon within the gorgeous Galdor Islands. Legend has it, Matriarch will gift those it touches with eternal beauty. Like the other divine Pokemon, Matriarch can speak, and has a personality of its own, being a lot nicer than the other 3 divine Pokemon of the region. However, unlike those divine Pokemon, it doesn't feel the need to have a trainer wield it as its forged form weapon, as it's not interested in battling, and is happy with the simple, elegant life it lives here within the Galdor Islands, in which it basically rules. Ragnar obviously has their sights set on it after choosing to form Team Beauty around its stories, as they just really spoke to Ragnar, who's always been into fashion and beauty, and desires its power of eternal beauty. However, they aren't the only one, because after finding out about your plan, Olga will want to find this legendary as well, and sends daughters Gretchen and Gertrude after it too. So you will have some competition in your search. Next up is a hauntingly beautiful Pokemon, also found in the Galdor Islands. Nykuran is a water dark type Pokemon based on the aquatic horse-like creature, the Nykur, found in Faroe's folklore, with a dark past, which is why I chose to give it the dark typing, and incorporate that into its dex entry, which goes as follows. Legend has it, this hauntingly beautiful Pokemon only emerges from the sea at the dead of night beneath the full moon. It uses the enchanting eyes on its tail fin to lure those whose hearts are filled with darkness to the depths of the ocean as retribution. I wanted to make it look both sinister yet majestic, using darker colors and shading to represent the dark side of beauty, such as temptation, as this Pokemon uses its darkness to lure trainers to their doom. And if you think that's dark, go read some ghost-type entries within Pokemon. There are some really scary and messed up ones. Anyways, I absolutely love this Pokemon, who can only be found at the dead of night under the full moon, which would just paint a beautiful scene. As far as its design goes, I worked with a talented artist, JJ Mons once again. I wanted to give it hauntingly beautiful blue colors, resembling that of the ocean depths, with rough wavy hair like the waves of the ocean, some fins like a sea monster or the Kelpie or the Nykur it's inspired by, as well as a false fin tail with glowing red eyes, as it uses this to lure people into the depths of the ocean. And these glowing red eyes really pop amongst all these dark colors, making it look quite spooky, with its trident crown being incorporated into its Piercer-type Forge Form weapon, which is of course a terrifying trident, wielded by none other than Wallace. I worked with the talented Pokémon on this legendary Pokemon. Now let's take a look at the legendary Pokemon found in the second DLC expansion, the King's Bounty. Starting with the 3 legendary Norns, all found within the Volhimen Islands, on their own floating fortresses. So you'd set out to find these 3 legendary Pokemon, all of which inspired by the 3 Norns from Norse mythology. Like each of the 3 Norns, these 3 Pokemon will each represent the past, present, or future, with their names all incorporating the name of the Norn they are modeled after and destiny. These three were also all loosely inspired by the Sinnoh Lake Guardians. Just like that trio, they all share the same type, but this time being the fairy typing instead of the psychic typing, as I've often used the fairy typing to represent time in my Fakemon regions. That being said, they each have a moveset utilizing either fire, ice, or electric type attacks, and while they don't actually have these types or get stab, their shared Serene Grace ability would increase the chances of their unique moves of one of these three typings, inflicting either the burn, frostbite, or paralyzed status condition. All three are a crisp white color, with beautiful veils and crowns, reflecting those of the three Norns from Norse mythology, but with a different primary color and shapes within their crown to reflect their respective element and time period, as well as differentiate the three of them. They also all three have different poses and, more importantly, facial expressions to help differentiate them as well and give them their own unique personalities. First, we have the representative of the past, Erdest. It is said flames lit in morning will summon it from the past, bringing fond memories with it as clear as day. It has fire-type moves at its disposal, as I felt fire fit the flames or candles burning in cemeteries or churches as a way to honor the past, which is why it's found in the Graveyard Mausoleum on this spooky floating island. Its color is red to reflect its fire typing, and it's got a happier expression compared to the other two, as we normally look upon the past fondly, or with the sense of nostalgia, even when mourning. I mean, very rarely do we look upon the memories of the deceased poorly. Next up is Verdandest, found on the floating island representing the present. Its presence is said to send a chill down your spine, freezing anyone it comes in contact with in place. That is until they are able to take in the moment. This Norn representing the present and utilizing ice-type attacks, as I felt ice represented being frozen in time. Its facial expression is more neutral than the other two, as most of us are generally busy living in the past or fixating on the future, whether that's our long-term goals or simply what we're going to have for lunch, rather than enjoying the present. It has blue incorporated into its design to match its ice-type moves. Last but not least, we have Skuldest. Constant thoughts of the future are said to invoke this Pokemon, bringing visions of what's to come to help ease troubled minds. Representing the future, and using electric-type attacks, as I felt electricity fit technology and power. Not to mention the futuristic island it is located on. Its yellow coloring is obviously to fit with its electric-type attacks, and its more irritated facial expression is to reflect how we spend so much time fixating or stressing over the future. Once again, even if we're just overthinking small things, like what we want to do after work or school. All three brought to life by one of the greatest Fakemon artists to ever live, Fungus Fakemon. So, which of these three legendary Norns is your favorite? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. My personal favorite is Erdest. However, I am biased because my favorite color is red. Another one of the divine Pokemon within the Fyrun region, if not the most important of them all, is Ed Loden, inspired by Father of the Norse gods, war, wisdom, magic, healing, aka all of the attributes associated with the other three divine Pokemon, as this one is meant to represent balance. Its name is a play on Ed Loden, meaning specter mixed with Odin. Like the other divine Pokemon, to make it less humanoid, it has bird-like features to reference Odin's two ravens from Norse mythology. Its wings, while down, appearing like a regal cape, and like Odin, it only has one eye. And it even has a powerful signature move and ability to help it command the battle. Its signature ability, Solemn Decree, prevents opposing Pokemon from using the same move they used the previous turn, basically being a built-in torment. With its signature Ghost-type attack, Shadow Cyclone, lowering the target's highest stat, both of which being incredibly useful. King of Wisdom, War, and Wonder, this omniscient divine Pokemon sees everything. After foreseeing the destruction of the Fyrun region, it gave birth to the Forge Form phenomenon, as it desired a warrior worthy of wielding it to defeat this grave threat, which is covered in great detail within Pokemon Legends Realm Doll, as well as the whole Fyrun saga. It even has its own Forge Form, which is a glorious spear. Inspired by Norse god Odin's magical spear in Norse mythology, which is actually where the King's Bounty symbol or logo comes from, as it's my own take on the Norse rune for that weapon, incorporating Loden's design into it, with the corners looking like feathers. In fact, its Forge Form weapon has its own signature ability, which is super broken in Forge Form battles, at least in the freestyle sections, as your Forge Force gauge charges twice as fast, making it that much easier to access your powerful finisher move. And this Pokemon and its Forge Form weapon is wielded by the Fyrun champion Odin. Ed Loden plays a major role in the story, as its visions are what dictate a lot of what happens within the story and the second expansion, the King's Bounty. Next, we have the legendary Pokemon invoking fear and threatening to destroy the Fyrun region not once, but twice. The ultimate adversary and true form of the region's two pseudo-legendaries, Jotundra and Matriarch, inspired by Frost Giant Ymir and Fire Giant Surtur from Norse mythology, the fierce Frostfire. Frostfire is a Fire-Ice type legendary Pokemon with a powerful new ability and signature attack, which is treated as both a Fire and Ice type move. This Pokemon's design is split into two sides, Fire and Ice, not only reflecting the two pseudo-Pokemon that it's composed of, but the fact that Iceland is known as the land of Fire and Ice, not to mention embodying the Fyrun region's themes of duality. To help break up the magma and the ice armor, there are also obsidian parts, as it is formed by the cooling of magma. Frostfire even has a powerful Forge Form weapon, which is a dual-bladed sword to fit the duality of both its sides of fire and ice, wielded by antagonist Twyla in the second DLC. Frostfire's Forge Form weapon has ridiculous stats, being the strongest Forge Form weapon in the entire game, and a signature ability allowing it to attack twice, as if it were two separate Pokemon in a double battle, which only works in double battles in place of dual wielding. I worked with the talented Pokémon on this legendary Pokemon. Last, but certainly not least... Oh! Whoa, you scared me. Look, you can't just sneak up on people like that, okay? I'm Mykel. Nice to meet ya. Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone, or would you like me to do the honors? Okay. Veacher is a mythical Pokemon, essentially the Mew of the Fyrun region, only given out through a special mystery gift event I will announce later on down the line. Veacher is inspired by a fantastical creature from Norse mythology, the Veacher, which is a supernatural guardian spirit who are said to accompany a person throughout life, much as I feel this little guy has been watching over me this whole time. These guardian spirits usually take the shape of an animal, said to have taken the form of several, or even can resemble a couple different animal species, which is why I chose to honor this and have its design feature elements from various animal species. This variation is mostly fox-like, but it's got deer-like antlers, rabbit-like ears and legs, and bird and bear-like paws, with its name being a play on the word Veacher, which is the Norse word for spirit in Norse mythology, covering a wide variety of different spiritual or supernatural beings, hence its ghost typing, with the latter part of its name being derived from the word creature, as it resembles various animals, as well as its namesake, as the end part sounds similar. Veacher's signature ability Spirit Guide works like the move Baton Pass, but only after Veacher faints, giving any of its stat changes to its replacement. Now, as cute as this little one is, this is actually Veacher's base stage. It actually has 4 different forms, each resembling different animals. They each even have their own unique Forge Form weapon, one for each of the Forge Form weapon types. Each of Veacher's forms are larger in size, representing a different animal, but like its base form, still maintains elements from various different animals. Each form also gains new stats and a new type in place of its ghost typing. It changes forms in battle using one of its 4 signature attacks. All 4 signature attacks start as ghost type attacks, but after changing forms, become treated as the type of their new form instead for more coverage, and to help further boost the stats of that given form. It transforms into its bulky mountain form using the signature attack Spirit Force. This mountain form gains the fighting typing, representing a bear, with Spirit Force becoming a fighting type move while in this form, which is more offensive. It transforms into its elegant field form using its signature attack Spirit Rush. This field form representing a deer, with Spirit Rush becoming a ground type move while in this form, which is a lot faster. It transforms into its fierce aerial form using its signature attack Spirit Wind. This form resembles an eagle or large bird, and its move Spirit Wind is now treated as a flying type move, and it's also a special attacker while in this form. It transforms into its ocean form using the signature move Spirit Wave, now gaining the water typing as it now resembles a walrus. with the move Spirit Wave now being treated as a water move, while in this form which is a lot more defensive. Now, Veacher would be distributed as a special mystery gift event, as most mythical Pokemon are. After obtaining this Pokemon, which would be released alongside the launch of Pokemon Brain and Pokemon Brawn, you'd be able to swap out your normal ride Pokemon, typically used to traverse the region, with this Pokemon's 4 forms. That is as long as you have Veacher in your party, of course, and you've already obtained all of the services for all of the ride Pokemon within your Rotom Watch. Its mountain form would be used as the new climbing Pokemon in place of Raditz Hoscroll. Its field form would be used as the new running Pokemon to dash across the fields in place of Ectherain. Its aerial form would be used as the new flying Pokemon in place of Girfalcold, and the ocean form would be used as the new surfing Pokemon in place of Fyrun and Lapras. So players who play the game right at launch and receive the code for this mystery gift would be rewarded with a special riding Pokemon to help make their journey through the Fyrun region even more magical. Veacher's spiritual energy and ability to shapeshift was actually used by Ed Loden with the collected power of the Runestones to give birth to the Forged Form phenomenon. That's actually how the Pokemon can transform into weapons, just like Veacher can change forms, as well as why Veacher has 4 separate Forged Forms, one for each of the weapon types. However, you'll have to wait till my Forged Form focused video to see all 4 of its Forged Forms. I commissioned the fantastic Fungusmon to help bring my vision for Veacher to life. Next, let's take a look at the legendary Pokemon found within Pokemon Legends Realm Doll, aka the ancient Cedar region. Starting with the new legendary bird, Quattree. Life is said to blossom out of the most barren of wastelands, with the flap of Quattree's wings sending miraculous seeds and spores into the air. Quattree is the 4th legendary bird to complete the Kanto trio, meant to act as a new counterpart to Enamorus from Pokemon Legends Arceus, which was a 4th weather genie. With this 4th legendary bird obviously being a grass type, and following the same naming scheme as the other birds, as Quattro as in 4, and Tree to represent its grass typing, with leaf-like foliage to make up its feathers, and if you look closely, its beak and its talons are also tree or branch-like. Quattree and the rest of the legendary birds would be roaming adversaries you'd have to trap like the genies in Pokemon Legends Arceus before battling, all of which share a new move called Element Burst, which is a flying type move that has a different effect depending on which of the birds use it. Last but not least, we have the title Pokemon, the all-powerful legendary Pokemon Realm Doll. Sounding its majestic horn, Realm Doll can open a portal acting as a bridge between various realms. Realm Doll uses its reality-bending powers to guard all of the realms from those who seek to conquer or destroy them. This legendary Pokemon is the center of the Cedar region story, as the title suggests, but can also be acquired in the modern-day Fyrun region within Pokemon Brain and Brawn through an event, by connecting the 2 games. Its design is inspired by Arceus itself, with a similar white, gold, and black color scheme, as well as a quadrupedal design. But it is also heavily inspired by Norse god Helmdall, who guards the Bifrost Bridge, which is why it's got all the different colors throughout its design. Realm Doll's signature ability is just like Arceus's, allowing it to change type using the typed melody you give it, and its signature move works just like Judgment as well, but is a sound-based move, as it uses its majestic horn to execute it. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. Please feel free to leave a comment down below to let me know which of these legendary Pokemon is your favorite. And don't forget to support all of the amazing artists who helped draw all of my concepts and designs so I could take you on this journey through my imagination. Thanks for watching.